Más adelante se unieron Pepi y Riddle para competir ya internacionalmente.
El equipo se formó a raíz de que queríamos un equipo de españoles y competir pues patrocinando a España, que es lo que se necesita.
A ver, el apoyo de la comunidad española está siendo brutal, ¿no?
Nos da un extra de responsabilidad porque estamos representando a un país entero, no solo a un equipo. Es algo más de presión que tienes sobre tus hombros y puede que quizá al final eso te acabe afectando.
Nos preparamos mucho para Milenio y cuando conseguimos ganar ese partido fue como diciendo lo más difícil prácticamente lo hemos hecho. El resto del torneo de expansión pues no fue fácil, pero nos sentimos mucho más confiados y mucho más cómodos a la hora de jugar.
Cuando ganamos a Reason Gaming por segunda vez, estaba alucinando porque pensar que está dentro de la AFS, que siempre lo ves como algo muy lejano, pues súper feliz.
Cuando lo conseguimos fue una sensación increíble. Nunca había pensado que íbamos a llegar hasta aquí.
No partimos como uno de los equipos favoritos, de hecho todo lo contrario, pero eso yo creo que incluso nos motiva más porque como vamos a poder jugar muchas más horas, pues yo creo que podemos dar una sorpresa en ese sentido.
Buscaremos intentar mantener la plaza. No buscamos tampoco ser el mejor equipo, pero aguantar yo creo que sí podríamos.
Que nos recuerden pues, como un equipo que está junto, tanto cuando perdemos como cuando ganamos, que también se vea que hay nivel en España.
Giants quiero que sea recordado como el equipo que representó a España en la LCS y espero que con mucha honra y que la gente de España esté orgullosa de nosotros.
Absolutely fantastic to see that full Spanish lineup of the Giants back in the LCS. Welcome to our coverage of Week 1 of the European LCS Spring Split. As players set up on stage, let's take a closer look at our next matchup between Giants Gaming and MeetYourMakers. Now, Giants as an organization, they were in Season 3. This is a totally different lineup. They qualified through the expansion tournament over in Cologne. And, well, although they were very convincing versus Reason Gaming, definitely some struggles versus the likes of H2K.
Yeah, if we go back to the expansion tournament, Giants were favorites to make it in, but they were favorites to make it in as a second seed. We knew ahead of time that H2K was the stronger team. It showed in their matches against H2K as well. But Giants was definitely ahead of the pack when it came to Reason and the other team that they beat there. So I'm just wondering, what are they going to accomplish in the LCS? Are they going to take down any of the bottom teams? Are they ever going to surprise win against the top teams? And how will the LCS training experience shape them? Because you have to remember these players aren't LCSX players. They still have a lot of room to grow because they are struggling against bottom teams right now, they might just become a lot better with hard work and a lot of practice.
Yeah, let's actually take a look at the lineup for the Giants coming into their very first LCS game. In the top, it's Verlib. In the jungle, Frederick. In the mid lane, Pepinero. And at AD, Adri. And finally, on support, Rydell. Now, if we take a look at that lineup, the player that's most hyped in there is the mid player, Pepinero. And we did say he was very hyped coming into the offline portion of the tournament. He did really well online. He didn't quite show it online, especially versus the likes of Febivin. There was something left to be desired.
He'll just have to adjust his playstyle to more seasoned opponents, the likes of Febivin, if he's going to start laning against Froggen and all the other great EU mid laners. He'll have to change his playstyle. If you're new to the Giants lineup, you have to really watch the synergy between Pepinero and Frederick, their jungler. They can really do some interesting things and try and snowball the solo lanes. I think bot lane is not the strong point of Giants, so that's where we'll be paying most of the attention here. But I wonder if it's enough to beat the LCS teams.
Yeah, we will see what would be their general approach to the game. We know that the Giants back in Season 3, sometimes they had the AD Cannon coming in there. They had some weird picks. Will that maybe be a route?
Yeah, well, I remember us losing a game to Giants that way.
I was not going to mention it,
yeah,
but
I'll take that one anyways. But yeah, I think Giants' signature playstyle, if it's still the same, will be Frederick spending a lot of times just waiting to try to gank and get his solo laners ahead. I really liked what they did when they played against, I think it was Ryu back in the expansion early days, where they played a Ghost TF. And I think it was an Elise combo, so TF would Ghost in, lock a yellow card down, and then get the follow-up from the jungler. So you saw that there was a lot of potential for synergy, but it might be read out already. And we'll see what they've done in the couple of weeks of practice they've had.
Yeah, I don't think it's wrong to say that they are the underdogs coming here into the LCS, so they can only surprise people, which is a good thing. Let's take a look at their opponents. MYM in the top, it is Mimer in the jungle, Horo at AD, Mr. Riles at support, Nisbet. And while we don't have the mid laner in there because we have yesterday, found out that Corey will not be playing anymore. Blizzard will be playing in place of Corey, whose future with the team is still uncertain. What do we know about this guy? Mr. Raleigh said, well, he's a friend in this bet. He's really good, but that's about all we have.
Yeah, Blizzard or Blizer, whatever the pronunciation will end up being. I've met him a couple times in solo queue already. You see him around, so he's definitely an active master/challenger player. I really have no idea how he'll perform on the stage, how much competitive experience he's had. But then again, we look at how MYM is still in the makings. You know, Raul said, yeah, we were getting there. We're still improving. We need a little more time. So this is a good opponent for Giants. If they can take a win, this might just be it. You know, a struggling team. They're a man down. They're still in the works. They'll rely on Horo. And at first I was starting to doubt, you know, Korean and English communication, is it going to work? But Fnatic showed us the biggest surprise of the season so far. Okay, we're only one game in. But I'm really looking forward to what Horo will bring. Is his shot calling as good as people say? Is his communication good? Or is MYM going to look dysfunctional?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that. We heard it from Mr. Rales already when he was saying, actually, the communication is really good. I'm very pleasantly surprised with the way Horo is playing. He's playing fantastically. What else has to go well for that team? The bottom lane in specific, Mr. Raleigh, another new support for him, but it seems that it's going well between them.
Well, yeah, they'll be working on their laning phase, so they'll probably play a little passive. So what has to happen for MYM is MYMR. He has to go back to his form where he was at the end of the split last season, because he was playing really well at that time. Probably had one of the better stats of the top laners in the summer split. So if he can shape up again, and we saw him in an interview earlier today say, I just look forward to playing a lot. So time to shine.
Yeah, absolutely. We addressed the concerns for this team. It is still a new lineup. Then you are playing with a player that only came in yesterday, so they will definitely have to put some changes in there. But you were mentioning it, MYMR. Is he then the shining light? He was actually the second in KDA last year in the summer split for top laners, least deaths and highest kill participation for top laners. And that has been a real growth for him, because he was not that good when he started off in the LCS, but he's really grown into that role in that team.
Yeah, and Rengar's finally available. I doubt he played in the top lane, but if you don't know MYMR, in his history, he was known as a very good Rengar player, but every time he got to a tournament, it ended up either being banned away or broken, or there was a bug with Rengar, unfortunately enough for him. But I think we'll see both teams be less, coordinated than, for example, Fnatic was. I think this will be a sloppier game coming out. I think it'll be more solo queue-esque, because there's no way MYM can have prepared for a situation like this, and Giants are still struggling to get to the veteran status that, for example, you know, you saw what Bora brought to the team. They had incredible roams, they had incredible team play. I doubt it's going to be the same level this match, but it's still really hard to call who's going to go on top.
Yeah, it would be fantastic start for Giants as the underdogs if they can pull this off, for MYM as well. Confidence boost for them. We will see. The teams are just about ready, so let's send it over to the caster desk to get us into the game.
Thank you very much, Shux and Krepper. We are just about to jump into Giants versus MYM. And I want to kick off immediately just by saying that Giants, they really didn't impress me very much at the expansion tournament. They lost to H2K very heavily. Yeah. They did take out Reason Gaming fairly convincingly, but ex-Pepinero was fantastic online. And I just felt like he choked really badly on LAN. It's actually something that we've heard echoed through several players in Challenger and from LCS, that when Pepe gets to LAN, he just simply doesn't deliver.
So, I mean, against Recent Gaming, he looked pretty good. If you look at the expansion tournament, he had the LeBlanc game at least where he went like 12-0, 12-1. So that was a good game for him, but it actually took a while because the first two games he played, as you just said, didn't really work out for him too well. It was more Worley doing a good job, and Atri, of course, on the AD carry position, performing really well. So, yes, I can see your point here with Pepinero maybe having a bit of a problem with his nerves, maybe whatever it is when he's playing here on LAN.
Well, we'll have to see how he performs. He will be coming up against a substitute from the MYM roster. It is, of course, Blizzard that we're talking about. He's come in to replace Corey. That's another problem that MYM have to overcome because, of course, they replaced Impaler by Horo. I also want to give off some shout-outs to the MYM coach just in the background there. It is Yamato Cannon. Player who's been on the LCS stage before. Actually competed with Dragonborns during the spring split of 2013. I believe he's actually shoutcasting in Swedish, or was doing during the course of last season. And now he's picked up the coach role for MeetYourMakers, so we'll have to see what impact he can have with the team.
Yeah, they used to have Last Shadow as their coach, of course, over in Korea, but he wasn't able to be here with the team, so decided to go with Yamato Cannon instead. And we're going to have to see if he can actually make something happen here, because he's in a pretty tough situation. The day before your LCS starts, your mid laner leaves, and you have to pick up a solo queue player because Blizzard He's a young guy. He's from 97, so he's 17, 18 years old. He's never really played anything in terms of like competitive games. He's just a solo queue player from Denmark, of course. So it actually means now there are 8 Danish players in the LCS, 6 Polish as number 2.
For the record, De Fischer was pulling up the map of nationalities of European LCS players, and
it was
very
7-7
proud.
between Denmark and Poland. It was 7-7. Now Corey, of course, being from Poland, he's gone. Danish guy steps in.
The Queen of Denmark is
win.
proud. We'll need to tell Primetime League to get her on the line to, I don't know, give you some sort of naughty badge or something like that. 8 out of 10 players are in the lobby, so we will be getting to picks and bans in a moment or two. I think both for Giants and for MYM coming into the European spring split, expectations were lower than some of the rest of the teams. I think that's a fair way of putting it. We didn't know what to do from MYM since they've transitioned from Super Hot Crew, and now they've got this hurdle in the mid lane to overcome. But it's going to be an interesting one to see who rises to the occasion. As promised, picks and bans for Game 2 of the Spring Split. Copenhagen Wolves on the blue side. First ban out the gate, it will be Lee Sin.
So this obviously is not the correct names. We have Giants on the left side here on the blue side. And of course we have MYM on the right side or the red side in this pick and ban phase. Lee Sin, first ban. No surprise coming in from MYM in terms of the Rek'Sai, which we will see banned most likely throughout the entire day.
Well, you are 2 for 2 thus far, 3 more games to go through. As we have mentioned, Rengar will be the next targeted ban. This is heavy focus onto the junglers for both Giants and MeetYourMakers, and we'll see how MYM responds.
So, Giants here knowing that Horo has actually been acting as the shot caller and one of the leaders on MYM, and therefore they start target banning him. We don't actually know in terms of scrims how big of a champion pool Horo has. When he used to play, I mean, there was actually a lot of release from him when he played back in Korea. For now, though, Lee Sin being banned away, of course, one of his main champions as well. And the Rengar, which we saw Rainover play just before, and doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. Once again, slow picks and bans starting off the gate here between Giants and MYM. We will keep you updated with the bans. It was Azir for MYM as their second. The third and final ban from Giants is Janna. And MeetYourMakers are running down the clock for their final ban.
Yeah, looking at the last game we had here, Azir was actually open. And he wasn't picked by any team. Now was open as well, wasn't picked either, which is a little bit surprising, seeing as they've been considered 2 of the best picks and almost constantly banned in both Korea and China, leading up to the LCS starting here. Once again, Nari is open, Lissandra is an option as well, if Giants wants to first pick it.
Well, just to mention the last ban from MYM, it is Jarvan the 4th. So you'll see that updating in a moment. Rek'Sai, Jarvan, and Azir taken off the table. My question to you is the power pony of Hecarim going to see the light of day? Is Elise going to see the light of day? With so many jungle bans, who are Horo and Frederick going to pull out the gates? Evelyn's had some changes on this patch as well. I think you have to ask the question, who are they going to pick? It's a first pick Thresh for Giants. Once again, time is being run down.
Okay, so Giants here aiming for the second, we can say, tier 1 support in Thresh, with Janna being banned away by them, and also trying to target towards Nisbet, who is, once again, he's solo queue support, has been picked up by MYM here, and is actually playing his very first professional game on the stage in our new studio here in Berlin. So they want to target both towards Horo and Nisbet, and therefore also first picking Thresh, even though there's so many good options. Again, Nara, Lissandra, whatever you want for the top line here, it's up to MYM to choose. You need something where Mima he can carry, that's for sure. And also you need to make sure Blizzard gets on a comfort pick. Ahri would be one of them. He's an assassin player, Ahri Z, that's the stuff he likes.
Well, we'll see what he can eventually get locked down. We're looking at the Giants coach for the time being. That is Lozark, helping out the team during picks and bans. You can hear them talking. You could argue longer picks and bans because of the involvement in coaches. Every time the cameras cut to them, these guys are talking away, communicating with their teams. You touched on the fact that the Thresh locked in by Rydell on the side of Giants is not only taking that from Nisbet, but Rydell is a little bit of a one-trick pony. He's played an excessive amount of Thresh, by far his most played, and in my opinion, by far his best champion.
Yeah,
so that's a good sign for Giants.
Sure it is, but by first picking here, you really also show to teams in the next few weeks or the next few games that, hey, we really need this Thresh lock in here for our supports. We want to first pick it despite other picks being open. I mean, you end up giving Sivir over to MYM. We saw what Steelback did in the last game. It's been one of the best AD carries because of your ulti. It's so strong in creating these team fights here, and your laning phase against the likes of a Corki is just fine because you can just push it up again and again and again. Yes, you lose one-on-one to Graves, but if you just play a little bit passive and just sit back farming, it's okay, and you then focus on these mid-game into late-game teamfights with your ulti instead.
Well, we'll find out what they decide to do. As you mentioned, Graves locked in, along with that Elise for Frederick. So with so many junglers taken off the table, Matakan is busy talking to his squad, and that is an Olaf locked in. A little bit of a dance on the side of MeetYourMakers.
Okay.
And that is going to be a return of the Viking.
So Horo dancing around a little bit. So should be his jungle pick then. It is still actually a flex pick. He can go to the top lane for MYM, not something we have seen in a long time. Same can of course be said for the jungler. Remember, you do get more gold here on 5.1. So playing more of a late game jungle carry could actually pay off as long as he can power farm the jungle and still stay relevant in early mid-game in terms of like pressure on the map.
Well, a lot of pressure then onto Horo's shoulders. We know that he's picked up the role of shot caller on the side of MYM. We did see that Nami locked in to round out your AD carry support comp.
Yeah, and also both Sivir and Nami able to speed up the Olaf here in these team fights to make sure he can just go crazy, get onto the enemy backline here and start wrecking faces.
Well, mobility is the name of the game for MeetYourMakers. 20 seconds left on the clock for Giants. They need to round out their team composition. They've got the ability to find picks with Elise and with Thresh and the burst damage that Graves is going to put down. The question is, how do they round out their team composition? With LeBlanc, you feel like Giants is going towards a fairly heavy pick style of team comp. Werlib is going to pull out the Jax, and I'm going to say it right now, challenger player top laners have not impressed me with Jax either. And we did see Werlib sort of flirting with the champion over the last few months, but that's going to give you some late game safety as well, if Giants can get him there.
And it's going to give you some split pushing, and also the option of doing a two-man Baron in the game here fairly early on with Elise and Jax together. If they can try and sneak it here, the Baron is a bit weaker. But yeah, very pick-focused from Giants, and then you have the split pushing coming in from the Jax. Can even go into a 1-3-1 with the LeBlanc, pushing and just having Graves sitting in this mid lane here. So definitely is setting up to try and make sure Werlib can get going on this Jax here, because there's still a counter pick left for MYM on this side, and obviously Olaf we expect is to go into the jungle, meaning MYM can pick whatever he wants for this top lane into Jax and Renekton. That wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, and I do want to expand on the fact that it is MYM, of course, once again in that top lane, arguably the best top laner of the summer split from 2014. He put up
him and Freddy up there
fantastic performances throughout the split. I agree with you there, Freddy, as well. And of course, Renekton has received some changes in 5.1. We'll see if he can get rewarded for all of that aggressive champion-based play. But it also puts pressure on Werlib. The early game is going to be so difficult for that Jax against the bully that is Renekton.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough early game for him, but if you manage to survive the laning phase, we know a Jax will completely outscale Renekton. And that's basically it here for MYM. There's a lot of mid-game power, but you will get outscaled going into the late game here. Both the Graves and the Jax, of course, will become very, very hard to deal with. So we're going to have to see some of the same performance that Fnatic pulled off here, where you are playing very aggressive early. You use the Sivir ulti, your high mobility on the Olaf as well to create these picks, get the objectives, and don't let this Jax go to late game.
No, definitely not the case. MYM will need to channel a little bit of Fnatic's decision-making and aggressive playmaking with this high mobility comp of theirs. And if they do, they could run circles around Giants in the opening minutes. We will, of course, be asking you guys to vote at home for which comp you think is going to come out victorious. Both Giants and MYM coming into this game, MeetYourMakers, they've got the replacement mid laner. We'll see who's going to work out. It is Blizzard, of course, in place of Corey. Let us know who you think's going to win. There's the team comps. They're on your screens. Tweet us at LOL Esports. Use the hashtags GIAWin or hashtag MYMWin. And we'll see who you guys think will come out ahead. Of course, in our new studio here in Berlin, there's the audience. We're about to get into our second game of the day in the spring split here in the European LCS. Gates are down. Giants versus MYM. Let's see who's going to come out victorious.
And I don't think Giants could have hoped for a better situation here. You're facing MYM in the first game. They just lost their mid laner, made 2 more changes during the off-season here, getting Hora and, of course, Nisbet for the support roles. So we don't really know what to expect from MYM. We actually have to go back to the comps a little bit, because I was talking about how Giants would really outscale, or at least the Jax would outscale Renekton. That is true, but we also have to look at like the Olaf pick here. Elise is one of the junglers who doesn't really scale into late game. She just becomes a tank and a cocoon bot, basically. She doesn't have an ulti, so there's no chance for her to duel someone like an Olaf in the late game. So MYM, it's actually not like they are going to be much worse going into the late game. It's only the Jax they have to worry about. So we might see Horo pay a lot of attention towards shutting down Whirly early.
Well, we'll see how the decision-making falls into place. Not a lot of early aggression this time around. Teams throwing out those wards and setting themselves up for what looks to be standard lanes. No massively deep vision, so nobody expecting those lane swaps.
We could see Giants try for a lane swap here to try and save Whirly, but it seems like we will actually have standard lanes, and he's going to do the same thing he did at IM Cologne, where we had the expansion tournament, where he starts Raptors at level 1 on his Jaxi. He kills them, he gets instant level 2, he goes back to base, buys a second potion or 2 more potions, and then he teleports to the top lane, and that kind of relieves some pressure for him, where Renekton won't just freeze him or push him out of the wave instantly.
Well, we'll see if that plan comes into action and if it's actually going to help him out. Almost 2 minutes on the clock, so jungle camps are going to be up. This time around, you can see that Audrey and Rydell are actually starting on the Krugs down in the bottom lane.
This is smart by Mimer. He knows Whirly be starting on the Raptor here, so he can actually walk in and stop Frederick from doing this grump.
Well, going to get some damage down, at least delay Frederick's lane. And as you mentioned, Whirlip's going to have that advantage on those Raptors. Minions have collapsed in that top lane, and just a little bit of a bother. Mimer playing the annoyance game and keeping Frederick just a little bit slower down. So Mr. Rolls and Nisbet, their lane is pushing a tad heavier. Rydell and Nisbet trading in the bottom lane. Early teleports.
Yeah, so Whirlip here going in, just going to get level 2 from basically the first minion dying, but Mimer should be able to get the same. Just a few minutes here, so Whirlip has to play aggressive now when he has that level advantage early and try and at least bully Mimer a little bit, maybe force the only potion he's actually sitting on.
Well, we'll see how he decides to play it out. Throw ice to the middle lane. Assassin versus Assassin. There's Pepinero taking on Blizzard. This is, of course, stepping into his first professional game on the LCS stage as a substitute, helping out MeetYourMakers. And we need to see how he's going to handle himself. The lane is going to push back in his favor in just a moment or two.
Yeah, and it's such a skill matchup in here. If you can actually predict where LeBlanc is jumping with a distortion and you land a charm from Ahri, you can win the trades. But otherwise, it's just up to Pepinero here to kind of control when he wants to go in for the trades, because he has that mobility early on, pre-level 6, that Blizzard doesn't have on Ahri. And Mimer catching up in levels, actually getting slightly ahead here and instantly bullying out the Jackson. We have to remember, Renekton had a few changes here in 5.1. He actually gets more Fury now if he trades with the enemy champion, and heals for slightly more as well with an AD ratio now on his Q.
It'll be interesting to see how Mimer decides to play this champion out. Of course, all those sweeping changes just to make him more thematically accurate and more rewarded for playing aggressively in team fights. Stacking it up. Whirlip's got a massive amount of minions to help catch up that CS deficit that he finds himself, but Crystalline Flask is going to keep him topped off fairly well. A very, very slow opening few minutes to these games. Both Giants and MYM coming in to prove that they belong in the LCS. MYM, the former Super Hot Crew, you know, they had moments of brilliance last year, but truthfully, they never really reached what felt like their full potential. They always started rolling and had a slew of problems to deal with as the year progressed.
Yeah, but they've just never been a stable lineup, a stable team, because support changes constantly. I mean, Mr. Rales has been switching through supports from Mixer in the very start, and Rigo Failer came in, Kasing was there, now it's Nisbet, of course, playing, so he never really found the right support. And let's see here, Frederick coming towards the top lane.
Well, easy slice away from Mimer. I think he still had the dice available if it was needed. Frederick's going to be chilling out in the bush, stood right on top of a ward, so Horo's going to be aware of it. I think you're right, 4 supports in 12 months, that is a lot. We'll see how the synergy works in a minute or two. Horo going to step into play. He does eat a cocoon for his troubles, but Frederick changes to spider form. That's a very good death sentence from Rydell. Going to keep Mr. Rolls on the back foot, and that is why we keep talking about Rydell's finish. We'll see if he can keep that up. At Expansion Tournament, he landed a ton of death sentences.
Definitely his best champion, no question. That's also why you first pick it, and actually leave up so many strong picks for MYM on the other hand. Mimer now, they want to go for this fight, but there's so many minions and they don't actually know where Frederick is, so they want to be careful, don't want to take too much minion damage and then get counter-ganked at the same time. And Frederick showing himself want to push out the wave here, so Whirlip can go back to base and shop. He doesn't have teleport ready just yet though. We're still staying around.
Keep your eyes on the different jungle items. Horo has gone for that Stalker's Blade. Pepinero again jumping into Blizzard, but that was a good charm. That's going to prevent further damage. Blizzard's running out of mana though. And as it stands, it's fairly even in the mid lane. However, Pepinero is slowly pulling himself ahead. This is actually a good confidence game for Pepe, considering he's coming up against a sort of substitute player and he's going to have the backing of a well-practiced team.
Very, very true. But actually trading okay Blazer in this mid lane. Again, this is very first game, professional game actually. And now even here.
Danish pride holding
studio
there to Fischer.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see how he performs.
Oh, you can't jump on a bandwagon. Come on. You're either proud or you're not.
That's what I did with Björksen. I didn't support him in the start, but then it turned out to be really good.
Yeah, I remember the quote. It was, it was quite famous around these parts.
He had that one coming. He had that one coming.
Yeah, well, he definitely shone once he eventually joined the LCS. Giants and MYM continue to just stick in their lanes. Horo and Frederick have shown their face in the top lane, mostly to wave, throw some high fives around and keep chilling. MYM now comes back to lane. He's got the pickaxe, he's got the longsword. He'll be coming up against the double Doran's blades of Werlieb. And a tentative passive start from these teams. I think you can sort of feel the tension that these squads have on their shoulders right now.
Yeah, and Horo once again, he's staying towards the top side. Oh, he's actually flashing in.
That was a flash forward. Spirit rushes up. Ignite was ticking away. And we do see Pepinero manages to get out safely. Gonna have the support of Frederick alongside him, but aggressive play by Blizzard here. He gets control, but he loses absolutely everything.
He loses everything, and Pepinero keeping it very, very cool. No flashing here, just distortion away, jump back again, and juke him around here. So definitely a small win for Pepinero in this mid lane. And instantly as MYM, they want to take control of this top side of the map because they want Horo to be able to run to the top side and dive onto Werlieb if he's pushed down to his tower. And that's also why Giants instantly respond, try and clear out the pink walls and make sure they can always see where Horo is going.
Well, we'll see if that's going to help them out. Going on to the 8-minute mark, and neither of these junglers having any sort of impact. This has to at least favor Horo's Olaf somewhat. Got himself a couple of CS. He's not been bullied.
Oh yeah, he's massively gone out around.
He's very, very happy with the comings and goings of the Giants jungler. Frederick has been bullied quite often. I mean, MYM, starting from very early on when MYM interrupted his Gromp and we saw Horo sort of counter-ganking as well.
If Horo can get to his late game point as well, I mean, he will be able to just run in at Adri here on the Graves, and there's nothing that can stop him. He has all the speed ups he needs. Didn't even have to run Ghost because he has Sivir on his team, even the Nami, providing even more movement speed for him, so he could run the Flash. And just been happy sitting and farming, getting his level 6 very, very soon, and then we can see some action happening.
Well, we'll see. You know, we're talking about Pepinero and we're talking about Werlieb from the expansion tournament, and Werlieb really stepped up. Pepinero, he wasn't the same carry that he was during the online stages of the tournament, as we've already mentioned, but to contrast Werlieb's numbers in his wins against Reason and his losses against H2K, he went from a 4.7, oh, we'll get to that in a second, as MYM is going to be in trouble, forced to throw down the Dominus, and the wet noodle fight turns into a steel concrete fight. Pepinero comes in, Ignite's going to pick it up, and I did not expect him to stick around for the entire kill. But a very good roam from Pepe.
Yeah, not a single ward from MYM on this top side right now here, so Pepinero could roam up. Blazer isn't even able to push it down in time, so Pepinero losing nothing in the mid lane and getting a first blood on this top side here. Very nice setup and a lack of wards from MYM. You should never be able to just roam freely from this mid lane to the top side. MYM had no idea what's happening. He was staying around trying to trade.
Especially in a lane matchup where you know that Jax is going to be receiving some help. Jax is always going to have a couple of buddies tapping him on the shoulder. Alright, looking for the undertow. Does not connect with Frederick's Elise, so decides to back away. And we'll quickly go back to the story time. Werlieb in his wins against Reason, 4.7 KDA. Werlieb in his losses against H2K at LAN, 0.7. So it really was day and night when he was coming up against a weaker top laner than when he was coming up against a stronger top laner, that being Oda1
But that's also Giants knowing once they have the lead how to actually snowball the game. That's what we saw in the expansion tournament. That's why you get a great KD as well. For now, they start up the Dragon here. Mymar has no teleport just yet. Werlieb actually ran all the way from base, so he can now teleport back up, pick up all the farm. Nice little setup. Once again, no wards from MYM. And they're just letting Giants move around the map.
Massive burst from Pepe. He's stamping authority on this matchup. He's grown the CS to nearly 20, continually keeping Blizz on the back foot. No flash available for Ari yet. Going to be relying on that Spirit Rush of hers to stay alive. This is, of course, Challenger Ari that is available for a short time. So, top lane, let's see if this wet noodle fight goes anywhere. Whirlib and MyM. MyM a tad more tentative this time round. I think he wasn't expecting the damage. Whirlib goes in. Counter-Strike's going to be available. He stuns the Crocodile up. Dominus is thrown down. They're going to trade, and Whirlib with the Cutlass.
Yeah, MyM
1v1ing MyM.
already falling behind here and just taking the wrong trades with Whirlib. This is not good for him. I know this is a very obvious statement, and yes, getting 2 kills early on is not good, but when you're Renekton pick, which won't really have much of an impact late game other than just being a tank who can run and try and stun a target, that's about it. Against the Jax who can split push and you have nothing to stop him. I mean, Olaf isn't going to run up and stop the Jax, the jungle Olaf here, so there's nothing to stop Whirlib in the late game. And he's taking these one-on-one fights and he's just winning them, dodging around all the damage. MyM overextending, not using his ulti, he started the trade, saving it in the very end, and just ends up dying for it.
Yeah, second time that we've seen those fights breaking out. I'm not going to get surprised by the third time round it happens, but a smaller CS advantage in favor of Jax in the top lane. Needlessly large rods picked up for both of these mid laners, and look at Nisbeth in the river.
And look at right lane, the top lane instead. Forget about Nisbet. Instead, though, setting up for a potential counter gank. In case Horo wants to show up, or at least want to start his own gank and give Whirlib another kill. This again, once Whirlib gets a good start, the entire Giants team just want to try and snowball him.
Well, MyM seems to be very, very far. Let's look for the initiation. Blaze available, Counter-Strike's available, Slice was used, Dice now used as well. Whirlib, he flashes, he stuns, Death Sentence connects. This should be an easy kill. Box goes down in case it was needed. And Giants put a gigantic foot on top of MyM, shutting him down.
Oh,
it's not over yet. Adri may be in trouble. MYM looking for a reply. Can they get on the board? Chilling Smite comes out, and Adri just dashes away. Fairly easy. MYM gonna get some presence in the tower.
Just good timing by Giants here. They actually had the bottom wave pushed up when Ryder decides to recall and then roam up, and he's in the mid lane now.
Absolutely everything misses. We don't see any of those spell shots connecting, and Blizzard manages to sidestep. Mr. Rolls will secure the first tower of the game. MeetYourMakers close that gold gap. Eventually, there we go.
And both the teams
Giants
here,
the lead.
both the teams actually trading deep wards in the enemy jungle around the red buff. We see from Giants, of course, on the top side, from MYM on the bottom side. As soon as they saw right in the top lane, moved in with Nisbet. MyM once again is in trouble. I mean, he's so weak.
That was a lot of damage from Frederick, and you look at his itemization. Gone for the Sight Stone before completing his enchantment on that jungle item. Already able to burst down MyM, of course, with a Chain Vest, no MR to speak of. Giants are slowly pulling ahead. And with a 2-0-1 Jax, you have to ask yourself, can they make use of the split pushing power? Top tower should fall shortly. There it goes. And how does Giants handle the 1-4 push? Trying to cast my mind back. I think if memory serves, Gamers 2 with Ocelot tried to do that in a similar stage in the online tournament, and they weren't able to make use of a fed, powerful Jax. Giants on LCS stage.
And that's why they're not in the LCS.
And that's why they're not in the LCS. Let's see what MYM can do.
Right for now, he knows something is wrong here. Oh, he might end up dying.
Oh, this is scary. He does get the flay down. He was way out of position, but look at the rest of Giants. They're going to get some positioning on this mid tower. Trading a support for a tower, I think that's a fair trade at the end of the day. Giants will be happy with the global goals.
The Giants always just one step ahead here, moving in onto Blizzard.
Oh, Pepper flashes for that one. The root goes down. We see the spider come in, sinks the bangs, and that's a kill. Adri from downtown with collateral damage. Red buff, the Brambleback still bashing away in the back line. Here comes Whirlib. Exhaust is out, but he doesn't have the support to these team members, and it's a kill. The Charm connects, and I think that's going to be them. Finishing out was the Cocoon.
The red buff is not done.
Oh, red buff still not done. Whirlib has got the help of the minions. Hops over the wall, and Peppy gonna play very cheeky. Dashes in and out. Giants 4 kills to 1, and they got the mid tower.
But again, this is Giants who wants to get the early lead. Oh, Nisbet!
Oh, does manage to bounce backwards. Nisbet survives.
Pepinero couldn't really get the last part of his combo onto him and try and pop him there with the early DFG being built. From a fairly easy laning phase, to be honest. And that's what you can do if you don't feel pressured at all in the laning phase. You can just instantly rush a DFG. No need for anything or anything in Pepinero's case here. But Giants, once they have the lead, you constantly see how they want to go into the enemy jungle, put up the wards, take the fight. Right and knew, okay, there's a high chance I'm going to die for face check. But at least then we can take a mid tower instead. And that's what happened. And then the rest of Giants just walked back in. They weren't done yet. Constantly pushing it. Putting all the focus on the top side as well, because the Jax is so far ahead that you can have the D-board there and you can have him join the fight.
Well, we'll see how Giants decide to play the rest of the game out. coordinated resource management. 1 kill for a tower, 1 death for a tower definitely works in your favor. Dragon was secured by Giants first a few minutes ago, and it's about to respawn in 20 seconds. There's no vision in that area really for either team. A few lone wards by MYM, but it's not the greatest coverage. And you anticipate that Giants will be trying to set up. MYM have got the makings of a death bush, but not a lot of numbers.
Oh, so this is obviously one of their bad things if you put all your focus on the top side of the map, is you lose control of the Dragon. And that's why MYM has been able to place all these walls around it here. Pepinero, though,
look at that
piece of
burst,
again.
But the chains do not connect. So that means Nisbet gets away with his life. Exhaust is not available. Tidal Wave has just come up.
Just gonna be fighting in the top lane. Whirly has his teleport ready, so if he decides to back away, Giants can actually start the Dragon, and MyMA won't be able to respond. They should do it right now if they want to force a team fight.
Yeah, not the longest cooldown though for MyMA, so that window of opportunity is going to shrink very, very quickly. Blizzard continues to get bullied around that mid lane. 30 CS behind at this stage. And Giants, they are forcing the Dragon. Still no teleport for MyMA, so it is like you're talking about.
It's the right call. It's definitely the right call here. Knowing there's no teleport just yet for MyMA. If MYM wants to try and fight for this one, well, they're going to be in a disadvantage. So smart enough by them. They back away, and Giants, full control.
Well, we'll see how it works out for them. In the middle lane, Whirlip, 1 versus 3. He's got the support of Pepinero. We do hear the Ragnarok from Horo. First kill secured. It is Nisbet going down. And what was a 1v3 to start, 2v3 to finish. Giants get Dragon and a kill.
And again, Whirlip, he roams down from the top lane because he had pushed it all the way into the enemy tower, and then he just teleports up because the global objective is gone. You don't need your teleport for Dragon the next 6 minutes anyway. Just go top lane, pick up some more farm, and constantly make sure you get into a tricky force and further in King Point.
Oh, we'll see if Pepinero can get away. Blizzard dashes for Pepe. He goes back in, tries to get damage down. That was a mistake, and Pepe gives up a kill to Blizzard.
So it looked pretty fun. He tried to dodge around the charm by dashing back, ends up dying instead. Blizzard finally able to pick up a kill on Pepinero. 2-1 actually. He's been one of the few positive things for MYM so far in this Ari, at least in terms of the kills he's been able to pick up.
Yes.
His laning phase was very, very shaky.
Positive's a strong word, I think, Deficio.
Okay.
Danish pride is clouding your vision, I think. But yes, 2-1 is still 40 CS down. We do see the enchantment for Frederick. It has been picked up. We'll get to that in a second. He's about to find some trouble. Horo and Nisbet gonna run in, sings his bangs. Nisbet gets caught. Horo gets pulled backwards. Frederick can Rydle. That's a flash flay. We did see the collateral damage from Adri, and 2 more kills to Giants. 1 for Frederick, 1 for Adri. It's 7-2. And a gigantic lead for the Spanish Armada.
Just reading MYM like a book right here. Waiting for him to come down to gank the bottom lane. 2 easy kills. Straight into the enemy jungle once again. Place your deep ward. You have a sidestone. Early build on Frederick. Just a smart choice by him as well. Knowing, okay, we're winning the early game here. Let me get this early sidestone so I can really dominate the map together with my support in terms of the wards.
Approaching 20 minutes. Approaching 5,000 gold. 3 towers to 1. 2 dragons to 0. Trinity Force Cutlass for this Jax. Juggernaut in the hands of Frederick's Elise. You can also see DFG making a death cap for Pepinero. It's just really, really big item spikes. Giants are getting to the point where they're nearly a full item ahead in some of the carry rolls.
And you're making sure the enemy Olaf here can't really farm anything because you just take everything in his jungle, then you back away. Once he respawns, you walk in, take it one more time. And Horo's now forced to actually try and find farm in the lanes instead, where he's taking it away from someone like Blazer or maybe even Mr. Rales, who both need their farm if MYM needs to come back in this game.
It's going to have to be a whole lot of mistakes from Giants, I feel, for MYM to come back in this matchup. About 20 seconds, sorry, a few minutes until Dragon comes back up. Giants have got the first 2. Uncontested, completely uncontested. And with the timing, with the control that they've got in the game, you have to feel that Giants are just going to continue to strangle the life out of MYM. Pepinero steps forward, does it to charm actually. Decides to go aggressive and doesn't manage to lock Blizzard down those ethereal chains, so he gets away cleanly. But that's a very aggressive LeBlanc that we've seen from Pepe.
I want to see Giants pick up a few more pink wards now, though. They have such a big lead. Use them to really force MYM away from their own jungle. For now, at least. Horo is staying around his red buff. Might not be the smartest choice because everyone from Giants is moving in.
Well, let's see where they decide to go. Last time around, they invaded the blue buff quite extensively. They've got inner turrets to push onto. Werlib is continuing to split push up in that top lane. He's definitely got the ability to outduel Mimer's Renekton. Mimer, of course, gone for early sun. Mimer's got himself an early Sunfire Cave. That's definitely not traditional on top laners that we're seeing these days. Maybe feeling the pinch, feeling the pressure. Well, another buff steal from Giants. It's rare to add to the collection.
Yeah, well, difference for MYM, knowing this time around they can't fight in Giants, will be there. Onto Mimer again.
Oh, that's going to be a dead crocodile. He just gets minced, shredded, skinned, and Giants turn their attention to the tower. Peppy gonna play the distraction game, and Giants take a tower after an easily coordinated dive.
So the Sunfire you were talking about just before here for Mimer, it's just him trying to say, I need some power right now. It is cheaper than the Radiant's Omen, but also weaker in the late game. But it gives him a bit of an earlier spike and some tankiness, which, as you can see, he needs, even though it's not enough against 4 members here.
Well, Renekton pick is not working out. That was, of course, meant to be the counter to Jax. He never really got a chance to bully him around. A few times he did. Well, he came out ahead, so Blizzard manages to get away from Pepe's burst. 3-1-1 on that LeBlanc. Still got himself nearly 40 CS advantage. Actually picked up an Amp Tome in the background to add to the needlessly large rod, so still saving some more cash. And 8-2, this is just a Giants stomp, to be fair.
It is.
They got the first few kills and they've just been rolling over MeetYourMakers. Pepe wants to blow somebody up.
Again, the only thing they need to do different is just get a few more big ones here so you can actually deny wards from MYM and avoid... Oh, okay, you can also just kill people.
Oh, let's see what Horo can do. He's looking for Pepe. He throws down the vicious strikes and does connect with the undertow. So 1 for 1 at the end of the day. A couple of assists on the side of MYM, but
Pepe knows it's all alone. He just goes in, like, under the tower, just 1v3, doesn't even matter. The rest of his team are running from base.
He doesn't care. He does not care, just diving Blizzard in the background. That's going to be a difficult one to overcome if you're Blizzard for your first game on the stage, first game with this team after being subbed in to suboptimal circumstances. So Death Cape was completed now for Pepe. He's going to have even more burst.
He's sitting on almost 500 AP with 22 minutes in. He has the 6% from the Dragon, and of course Death Cape being completed. Codex as well, getting some more cooldown reduction. Pepe is looking pretty good.
And you're also seeing Frederick even going for the damage route. Grabbing himself a Haunting Guise.
Again, that's the snowball in the game now. That's just completely snowball in the game.
You've got this much of a lead, why not? So Dragon is up. Look at the vision for Giants in the bottom half of the map. It's relatively deep in MYM jungle. They've got some good wards up towards that wolf camp. Nobody from MeetYourMakers is responding. The Giants are going to secure their 3rd Dragon of the game. And they're just going to keep going. They're just going to keep pushing at this stage. There's no one that can stop Jax. There's no one that can survive Pepe. Audrey and Rydell aren't even needed at this point, but you expect they'll carry pretty hard as well.
Yeah, Phantom Dance almost completed for Audrey here. And that game extremely strong as well. Horo, let's see if he can survive.
Oh, this is going to be a horrific amount of damage.
DFG came too late.
Too late indeed. Pepe not going to be impressed with that one. But the damage into Horo pushes him away. Minion wave in the bottom lane. Giants are going to steal another blue buff. And we'll see. They should be able to get the bottom in a turret, despite the fact Mr. Riles is able to sort of solo push that top lane. That's a small solace for MeetYourMakers. But the team that we weren't expecting a whole lot of from Giants has performed well. Despite the fact MYM have got that substitution, Giants have come in. They've played controlled and coordinated. It's not flashy. It's not dramatic. But it is controlled, you can't deny it.
I just love the way they focus on Werlib in the start here, knowing he's the guy we need to get ahead, and as soon as he got the first kill, or Pepinero walked up and got the first kill, Werlib just handled everything on his own. Let's see, Blazer, and for Pepinero again.
Oh, does get the DFG down. Here comes Pepe in the background. Horo's coming to help out. Good shot from Horo, managing to predict Pepe's movements.
Pepinero needs to be a little bit careful, though. I mean, this is not the first time he's been caught out. I mean, 3 deaths now from him, and every single one has either been Blazer jumping him, and then he has to like distortion around and ends up dying, or just him diving in by himself, because it means now MYM taking up a tower.
Yeah, more importantly than the death itself is the global gold that the tower is going to give you. So MYM pulled back, they were about 8k gold down a few minutes ago. It's now down to 4,500, 5,000. It's not as terrifying. The problem that they have, how do they deal with Jax? Blade of the Ruin King completed, Trinity Force completed. Jax is terrifying, and Deficio, you talked about a 2-man Baron earlier in the game, 5.1. Yes. Baron is weaker than 421, and look at this. They've got the whole team there. This is going to go quickly, but Horo is nearby. There's no flash available. This is going to need to be a godlike steal. Let's see if he can get the undertow out.
Zodiac.
502 simple. Giants sneak the Baron at 25 minutes.
I really like this play here. They see MYM pushing down the mid lane, and then all 4 members after killing the tower walk to the bottom side of the map, and instantly Giants, 2 pink wards, walk straight to Baron. You know you have the Jax with Blade, you have the Elise as well, and you just start it. You don't even care, you don't think, you just go for it, and it works. And Ahoro staying alive.
Oh, look at the damage on Horo. They've got Blizzard. He's now dead. The tower will fall in a second, as it does. The rest of Giants continue to push. Remember, they've got Baron buff, so their minions are going to be super effective. Frederick lands a cocoon into Nisbet in the background. We do hear Siv's ultimate get thrown down, but it's not going to be enough for MYM to do anything but defend their tower. Audrey is not bashing away on the tower just yet. Peppy jumps in. He blows Horo up. And that's a dead Viking. Giants waiting for more minions. Look at the top. They can rotate if they want to. Peppy dashes forward again. And Giants are looking to strangle the life out of MYM.
No need to rotate to the top of here. Just take down his mid turret, or he takes more kills.
That's going to be a dead MYM. Whirlip flashes forward. That's a double counter-strike. Double kill. Gonna close it out for the triple. Inhibitor turret is down.
And that's how you get a good
fall.
KDA.
There's still minions pushing forward. Giants, what do they want to do? Where do they want to send their targets? They're pushing onto Nexus turrets. The burst onto Blizzard is huge. Nexus turret number 1 drops. Nexus turret number 2 is being focused down. 27 minutes on the clock. That's going to be another stun for Whirlip. He gets dropped in the background. It's too little. It's too late. Giants are looking to put a gigantic stamp on the win. They get the Nexus. They win their first game of the European LCS.
And what a game. Such a good performance here. Knowing from the start, okay, we're going to camp top lane. We're going to help out Jax here. Give him the lead he needs. And then Whirlip, he just ran with it like he dominated MYM. The top laner we talked about, who surprised us the most last year in the summer split. MYM stepping it up big time. Whirlip here on Jax, destroying him. Pepinero, of course, in the mid lane. Had a fairly easy time laning-wise against Blizzard. Did get caught out a few times. Happens. I mean, you want to really try and impress some people here at the start.
Peppy was pulling out a few swag moves there throughout the game. You got to give some credit there. Tofiscio, coming into this week, you were getting nervous about potential game times. And we've had 2 relatively quick, controlled wins. Teams in the EU LCS look like they can close games. Hell, it's not a big sample size, so maybe I'm getting too excited.
2 games.
But it still counts. It still counts.
We saw the early Baron, and that's what happened here in 5.1. Because the Baron is so much weaker, if you have that big of a lead early on, you can start it. The enemy team can't really react in time and go and stop you, so you pick up the Baron, and that's what Giants used to just push all the way down. You couldn't do that before when the Baron was a lot stronger, because you would get dropped fairly low. There's a chance the enemy team coming in and killing you, and kind of giving them the lead, or at least open up for a comeback. Now this time, Giants saw the chance, went in, killed the Baron. Again, you had the Jax. Won the game. Beautiful.
3 to 4 minutes from the time they started that Baron to finishing the game out. They found the picks they needed to, landed the skill shots they needed to, and a lot of praise has to be given to Whirlip's Jax. He got a good number of counter-strikes in multiple members of the team under those towers and just shut down the entire MYM squad.
Just a great game, and it was the champion he used in the expansion tournament.
Yep.
It was actually banned away in one of the games as well by Recent Gaming because they were too afraid of him in the end. I remember Kuban playing Nara into it, actually losing the laning phase and just saying, you know what, let's just ban it. I can't do anything. But Giants, they show why they have such a good KDA in the games they win. Against teams, I'm not going to call MYM weaker than Giants, but in this case, because they played so well, they looked a lot better. And they know how to snowball it. Constantly invading into the enemy jungle. Constantly contesting everything from red buff, blue buff, dragon. Doesn't matter. You're going to fight for it. We are in the lead, so we're going to win this fight here and close out the game.
Yeah, I think it's not too unfair to say in this matchup, they were playing against a weaker MYM because, of course, they had a very, very last-minute substitution.
True.
We need to see how MYM, bounced back from that. It was quite shocking news that Corey, stepped away from the team.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder what sort of mental impact that does to the squad, that does to the players. Mr. Roll's a guy who's gone through 4 supports in a year. We were talking about it. Him and Nisbet never got a chance to shine because the game was already falling so far behind before their impact became even relevant.
Yeah, there was just no focus on the bottom lane. It was just a standard farm Crepo set on the analyst desk. When you have a new bottom lane, you don't really want to go for these aggressive plays. You kind of want to stay back and just play it fairly safe and instead focus on team fights, and that's what they did. But due to the top lane just going horribly wrong, even the mid lane early on, in favor of LeBlanc here. We talked about the matchup. Was fairly hard for Ari. You have to time that charm here if you want to do anything to LeBlanc, but once the top side of the map was gone, I mean, the entire game was just lost. Mr. Riders had no chance to do anything. Same goes for Nisbet.
All right. Well, I would like to take a moment to welcome the newest member of our broadcast team. It is Devin Pyrotechnics Young. We're looking forward to seeing him here on the Shoutcaster desk tomorrow. But for now, we'll throw to stage where he's going to hear from the victorious Rydell about that win.
Thank you very much for that one, guys. I'm very excited to be here, and of course, I'm joined by someone else who I would assume is very excited to be here as well. It is Rydell from the victorious Giants Gaming. Now, Rydell, I just want to ask you a little bit, because the analysts gave you guys a little bit of a hard time coming into this. They didn't really give you a lot of props, but against MYM, you really, really showed them who's boss. How does it really feel to get that first all-important win in the LCS?
It feels very good, of course, and we expect a very hard match, but I think in this case, they don't play with selfie, and they affect them a lot. And I think we motivate a lot because it's the first match in the LCS, and only that motivates us a lot for playing super good. And I think that we feel good right now, and it's fine.
Awesome, excellent stuff. And I also want to ask you a little bit about representing your home country, because this has been something that you guys have stated is a really big part of your identity. You're the only Spanish players in the LCS. You're the all-Spanish team in the LCS. How does that affect the way you prep games? Do you feel that that's something that puts a burden on you, or do you think it's something that you're really, really proud of, that it makes you stronger in a way?
The second one, proud. I think one point of being Spanish is the language that affects in-game a lot. At the moment, we can speak all the same language, and it's our best language. We can do a lot of calls out of good decisions that because only for the communication is good in the same language. And for the fans in Spain, it's give us even more motivation. So representing Spain is one point of motivation that adding to other points is make us play very good.
Excellent, excellent stuff. Also, I noticed a little bit during that game, in particular, some of the other games I was talking about as well in the expansion tournament, you focus a lot of attention up top. WorldLib, you want to get them big, not just on Jax, but it tends to be the way. Is that something that you plan, or is that more opportunistic?
WorldLib, one of the best champions of WorldLib is Jax. And Jax is a champion that is very, very strong in late game. The damage, the mobility, the split push is very strong. So if you Renekton, for example, in this matchup is a very early champion, focused on the early game. So if you can put on Jax 2 or 3 kills, and he will snowball for sure. So it's more a bit planned, but it's also the matchup. In this case, Renekton is early game, so if you put down of the early game to Renekton, Jax is even better.
All right, excellent stuff. And of course, I got one more for you here. Do you have anything you'd like to say to your fans, especially back home?
Thank you for supporting. The Spanish fans, and not only the Spanish fans, are incredible. As I say, the motivation of the fans when they support us increases a lot for us, and thank you for all.
All right, excellent stuff. Thank you very much, Rydell. Now we're going to go ahead and send it back over to Shox at the analyst desk to break down that game.
Thank you very much, Pyra, and well, thank you very much, Rydell, as well. A fantastic win from Giants. Crepo, talk me through the picks and bans. A lot of focus on those jungle bans. 4 coming out here well, from both teams, and then we saw something we haven't seen in a while, an Olaf jungle for Horo on MYM.
Yeah, I'm just going to follow what the Physio was saying over at the caster desk. This entire matchup was played around the top lane, and that started in picks and bans. We saw MYM target some jungles. They were forced to ban Rek'Sai. They really didn't want to play against it. They forced to ban J4 because it was the last strong jungler left. But I feel it's a mistake because you put Frederick on Elise, and he's really comfortable in that. He's shown that in the past. So they gave comfort picks to Giants. That's fine. But then they got the Renekton Jax matchup, and I think that is where the game was lost immediately for MYM because they were making the wrong decisions.
explain a little bit more, because it isn't a losing matchup for MYM, and still they didn't manage to do the right things.
So if we go back historically, Renekton would always beat the Jax and be able to all-in burst him when the top laners were still playing Ignite. Now it gets a little difficult when you have Teleport coming in, because Renekton can like solo beat out the Jax, but he can't really kill him. That's where you need the jungler to come in and basically snowball that advantage you have. Horo, in the early game, he was completely invisible. We saw Mimer initially, if we go back to minute 2, we saw Mimer invade on the Elise, because he knew Elise would be alone doing the Gromp, because we know in the Jax Renekton matchup, Jax is very likely to start on Raptors, use that level advantage to TP the lane. I would have very much liked MYM to punish them. Why won't Horo go together with Mimer, kill the Elise, screw over the jungle, and then later on snowball and dive the Jax? In the Renekton Jax matchup, the jungler should always be looking to dive the Jax, stack a big wave, punish him when he's trying to get that CS, because otherwise you let him even out the XP, and eventually, if you get behind once, which they did because of Pepinero's roam, because again, in mid lane people were playing tentative, bot lane people were playing tentative. It was a waiting game until the one moment decided in the top lane, if Jax gets ahead of Renekton, this game's over.
Yeah, you mentioned it as well. Actually, kudos to Pepinero. He was on one of his comfort champions, LeBlanc, but it does take a lot to win that very first game of the LCS, having the confidence to roam up and make those plays happen.
Yeah, you could see that he was basically just playing forward in the lane a little more than Blizer was. I have to give props to Blizer. His first land coming in a strange team. I think around the 7-minute mark he attempted a Charm Flash play. It missed. But I wanted to say, like, good on you for trying that, because it's really difficult to come on land. The game is going absolutely standard, 50-50. Nobody's doing anything. It's 7 minutes in, and he just goes for the flash play. He tried it. It didn't work. Too bad. I just want to give props to him that he actually went for it. In turn, Pepinero later roamed top, killed Renekton, and then from that game, the game was snowballing. Mr. Rollins in this bet, where we're sitting back in a losing matchup, a sustained matchup in the bottom. They're not going to do anything. I think even Giants could have pressured that a little more. They have Thresh and Graves against Sivir and Elise. They're both short range. They can get flayed. You have Lantern to bring in the Elise on the bottom lane as well. I just felt a lack of passion, of grinta in Spanish coming from both teams. But then again, we go to the top lane, and that's where the game pretty much was decided.
Languages as well. It doesn't stop with
do
you,
it all,
does it?
except play League of Legends.
Coming back to that game, when we were interviewing Mr. Rawls before, he did say he was kind of making excuses already, which I totally understand with the change only yesterday. You know, we're going to see where it's going. We're trying to be working in that, but it almost seems like they handicapped themselves before going into it.
No, I don't think it's excuses rather than just explanations. From what I could feel from Horo, it felt like he, in taking out champions away from Frederick, he took out his own champions. He was forced to play Olaf. Not sure if they practiced it a lot or whether it was just a reactionary pick. And he misses his mid lane. Corey is an incredibly potent mid laner. He has really great mechanics. He has a really strong laning phase. Maybe MYM was used to playing around the winning mid lane to snowball into the enemy jungle and then have the Olaf work. But it just felt like Horo was invisible in the early game. And then once he got behind on Olaf, there's almost nothing you can do to come back.
Yeah, definitely have to revise their game plan going into game 2. On the side of Giants, it went very well for them with their strategy. Were there other elements in their play that would make you think, you know what, there's actually potential in this team to go farther than we might have thought they would?
I think Giants did a lot of the things right, but just slow. You know, like they got the advantage, you got the double sides, don't ward it up. They rotated, but there was zero pushback from MYM, so we can't judge how they'll actually react against teams that are trying to like counterplay them constantly, right? And they did something which Giants have done before. They've done the Raptors with Jax before. They've done Jax Renekton matchups. They've snowballed it by ganking it a lot and having the other lanes passive, and then just having Pepinero try to win. But we saw in the expansion tournament, when Pepinero gets pushed down in his lane, he would have never made that roam to top lane. The snowball wouldn't have started as quick. A team that is more versed in the Renekton Jax matchup would also know that you have to punish that Jax harder or avoid your Renekton getting behind. And if that doesn't happen, I don't know yet what Giants can do.
Yeah, well, we've seen it was only the first game, and well, good on them at least winning that very first game. We need to go on cooldown, but we'll be right back with more opening day action as the Copenhagen Wolves gear up to face H2K Gaming. Don't go anywhere.
You know something is wrong here. Oh, he might end up dying.
Oh, this is scary. He does get the play down.
Moving in onto Blizzard.
Oh, Pepper flashes for that one. The root goes down. We see the spider come in, sinks the fangs, and that's a kill.
It's just get a few more big ones here so you can actually deny wards from him and avoid.
Oh, that's going to be a dead Mimer. Whirl it flashes forward. That's a double counter-strike. Double kill. Gonna close it out for the triple.